You will need one T9 screwdriver. Can be bought at Radio Shack, $5. One roll of electrical tape, also bought at Radio Shack, $2. One tube of thermal or silicon-based thermal paste or silicon-based heatsink, $3 at Radio Shack, and 8 cents in pennies.
Today we are going to show you how to fix your Red Ring of Death. Permanently.
As you can see here, we've already started taking the Xbox apart, and if you turn it on, and wait,
there
the Red
it
Ring
is.
of Death. This is not an Elite Xbox, this is actually an Xbox I have custom painted myself.
Bad Religion, his favorite band.
And those just represent where those went, and
sorry about the dogs.
Bring it over here. At this point, basically any YouTube video will show you that. From here on out, you're good. Basically, you have to take out every screw first off, but first off, you probably just want to get out the big screws, which are silver in my case. Sometimes they're gold, I don't know why. Sometimes all the screws are silver. But there's 6 of these big ones right here. 2 on each side and 2 down the middle. These hold the Xbox case onto this metal box thing. And we will take these off. Okay, so we've taken out the screws on the bottom. Now you gotta kind of carefully move your button here so it's not holding on there, and kind of pull it out a bit and then pull this up. And then this should come off with this shitty metal sheet. Your thing won't look like this. Mine just has spray paint on it from when I painted the disc tray. This should pull right up, and if your button gets stuck down here, just like I said, pull that thing out. Then you're going to have to disconnect 2 sets of cords on the disc tray. One's white, one's black.
Right.
Set that aside. Next, you're going to carefully lift the fan thing up. It has a little clippy here. You just got to kind of fiddle around with it and get that out. And like I said, set that aside. Next, you're going to want to remove the fan, which is fairly easy. You just kind of like push up on this hard metal thing and kind of just pull it out till it pops out. Pull it out, disconnect it from the motherboard. Just set that aside as well. Next, we're going to go for the RF board. This has 3 screws. 2 are very visible, 1 is not. You basically get your fingernail under this thing and on one side and pop this white thing off. It has arrows to show which side's up for later. Set that aside as well. 3 black screws on this. Easy, just unscrew them. And set those aside. Don't lose any of these screws because especially the black ones, the Xbox won't work unless all the black screws are in. It senses them, especially on the X clamps. Then once you've got all those screws out, it just pops out. It's just plugged in there, real simple like that. Carefully set that aside. Then we are going to flip it upside down and remove every screw on the bottom. I'd suggest starting with the X-clamps ones, even though I haven't. These are small and easy. So once you've unscrewed all the screws, this basically slides out. When you do it upside down, it slides out. Then you have this. Of course, the fan's on top, so everything on top is cold. Ice cold from the fan. But on the bottom, this is where the real problem happens. They have these 4 chips. Why they put them on the bottom, I don't know. Some genius in Microsoft invented this whole system. But Microsoft decided instead of putting more fans in, they're going to go the cheap way and put these little band-aids in. They're called heat pads or thermal pads. Basically, they're supposed to suck the heat out of these 4 chips. And this is actually your fatal system hardware failure thing. You can just keep these if you want, throw them aside. Then this is where we have our wonderful electrical tape and 8 pennies. Microsoft could have fixed their problem for 8 cents, but instead they went with these thick, nasty band-aids. So we got our pennies, and we got our electrical tape. Now, I took the personal pleasure of pre-wrapping my stacks of pennies to speed up the video. But basically, I mean, it's simple. I think you can figure that out on yourself. You take 2 pennies, do a wrap around one way, do a wrap around the other, make sure it's all closed off perfect, like this little square here. Perfectly closed off, no electricity going through you, cringe all these little corners up. Perfect, right? Yeah, great, 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 great. So, you might want to get all that sticky crap that was on there off from the thermal pads. You might have some, you might not, I don't know. But now that those are very clean, beautiful looking chips, whatever they do.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
That's when you need this. It's called many different things. Heat paste, heat sink, silicone-based thermal heat sink, I guess is a proper name.
Pretty much all you need is, you can go to Radio Shack, get this.
You can get everything
really
at Radio Shack.
Silicone base, heat sink, compound, caution, blah blah blah. Yeah.
So,
pretty much.
You just don't get it in your mouth or in your eyes. I mean, wash it off when you're done using it, but you want, like, little to no. Just a tiny, minuscule, that's probably too much. You just barely want none of this. This is just to keep the pennies on there and transfer the heat. Because like I said, these pennies are here to conduct heat, to keep this thing cool. You just want to move it out with your fingers, try not to get it on the motherboard. I mean, you just want, like, thin, like, we're talking as thin as plastic wrap here. Just enough to get them to stick. Now, this will never dry, so you don't have to worry about that. Like, wipe it on a paper towel. I mean, don't be like me wiping it on the bottom of your couch. But
ew.
Anyway, so we're going to take our pennies and we're going to just stick them in the middle of there and just pop them on. Press down.
Lightly, don't break the motherboard.
Get them to stick on there. And they might not stick. You might need a little bit more, but usually you don't need much to get these babies to stick. And so... Uh-oh, this thing's tilting around here. Come on, stick on there, you stupid piece of crap. Try this one over here. So, I got these all sticking on here now. And now that they're stuck on there, the problem's fixed basically. You want to close your Xbox back up, so you're going to take your metal case and make sure you get it lined up right. It won't screw back together wrong, but I mean, you got to put the motherboard back in there. Slide it over. Try not to scratch anything too much. The pennies will slide around, so this is the hard part where you got to make sure they're in place. Once you get this clamped on there, there's not going to be a problem. They're going to be tied up against the top of this thing, but until it's clamped safely down, you want to be kind of gentle. Okay, so now that I got it in there, kind of line up the screw holes. You don't want to strip any of your screws.
Okay, this part is very important.
This is just, make sure when you first plug it back in anyways, don't be connected to live in any way, because if you connect this wrong, you will be banned. Your Xbox will be banned from live, because they'll think you're modding for some reason, but you just, basically it's easy, but I've had friends fuck it up. You just plug these back in correctly, and like I said, don't be connected to live, because then you won't get banned. It will just tell you that something's plugged in wrong. That's that part. So we put it back together. Everything's good. Now this is where we borrow